Thorpe Park's roller coasters have plenty of strong moments, from great inversions and strong airtime to powerful G-forces. However, today I'll be highlighting the worst moment on every coaster at Thorpe Park, and some of my opinions may be slightly controversial. Though to pick the roller coasters, I'm going to spin this wheel, so let's get straight into it. Okay, so we've just landed on Stealth, and there aren't really any bad or lackluster moments on Stealth, as the pacing is brilliant and the ride is over in the blink of an eye. Though the worst part of the ride is definitely the airtime hill into the brakes, as it's the least interesting of the three elements. And as the brakes kick in midway through the hill, the airtime is cut slightly short on the back row. Let's give the wheel another spin. Okay, so Nemesis Inferno. There isn't one moment in particular that stands out as being the weakest part of the ride. However, if I'm being really critical, the turn before the final helix is a little slow and slightly ruins the pacing of the ride. It's a bit of a dead moment in comparison to the rapid inversions on the rest of the coaster. So we've landed on the Swarm. Well, like Nemesis Inferno, the Swarm doesn't have any inherently bad moments. The turn after the mid-course brakes is slow, but I wouldn't really count that as being part of the layout. I think I'm going to go for that hardline roll over the station, as it can be slightly uncomfortable with the vest restraints, and the deafening screaming of people as they go through the inversion. It's so loud when you're in the station and the queue. While the wheel is spinning, be sure to subscribe for an Alton Towers version of this video, but we have just landed on Hyperia. Well, this is easy, the trim brakes and splashdown. The splashdown hasn't been turned on for quite a long time now, and even when it is, it's underwhelming as you can't see the splashdown properly from on or off ride, as the water jets set off too late and there's no viewing platform. But most importantly, the trim brakes are just annoying. I understand they have to be there for safety, but it's such a buzzkill when they kick in. Thankfully, they don't ruin the final two airtime hills too much. Saw the ride. Well, this is quite hard, as there are two moments on this coaster which I don't like at all, those being the bottom of the first drop and the dive loop after the mid-course brakes, as they're both uncomfortable in different ways. The dive loop isn't fun since the mid-course brakes don't slow you down, meaning you go through the inversion way too fast. Although what is worse in my opinion is the bottom of the first drop. You go over this pothole which shakes the train about and makes Saw the roughest coaster at the park in my opinion. I dread going on the wheel seat of Saw's trains as it's so painful. Anyway, talking about wheels, let's spin the wheel. And it looks like it's about to hit Colossus. Now this might be controversial, though I think the weakest part of the coaster is the quadruple heartline rolls. Now don't get me wrong, having that many inversions in a row is impressive, though for me, after doing two in a row, they start to get a little repetitive. And they aren't the most comfortable with the over the shoulder restraints. It just feels like you're in a washing machine. Bruh. Walking Dead the ride. This coaster doesn't really have a worst moment, as there's nothing that stands out. Though if I had to choose, I would say the mid-section of the ride, which is after the large drop and before the section where the ride is brought to a stop. As that part of the ride doesn't have too much theming, apart from a wall projection and a few sound effects, and it's the least thrilling and interesting part of the coaster in my opinion. So we've ended up with Flying Fish. I don't know why we always have to end up with the most tame coaster, but anyway, the worst part of Flying Fish is probably that janky transition towards the end of the layout, but I'll cut it some slack as this coaster is 40 years old. So those were my worst moments, but what are yours? Be sure to comment down below and subscribe for more videos like this. See you in the next one.